approve the minutes from our 6/30/2025 and 7/7/2025 meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Bendel. Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
And to adopt the agenda from today's meeting, July 23rd, 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Great. So tonight we have our student advancement team that will be talking you through a few things. The first presentation is about the workforce readiness component of the report card. And although the report cards haven't come out, obviously, it's going to be a component that will now have a rating. So it really hasn't been there but not rated in the past. And so what I thought we could do is start to share what that component looks like. And then that way, when everything comes out, at least we'll have some background knowledge for the new piece. So Mr. Mullinan is going to talk us through what that looks like.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So like Dr. Pinzarski said, we just wanted to give you an understanding of what this component means, give a little bit of background, and also just update you on some of the things we're doing for college and career readiness here at Chagrin. So the new component of the report card is measuring it's a mouthful, college, career, workforce, and military readiness. So our graduates are measured if they've completed one or more of these 11 criteria in here. And as you'll see when we go through our data, most of our students are college bound. So that's where we want to focus our efforts there. But there is a percentage of kids who are not. So we want to make sure that they are meeting and showing readiness in one of these other areas. And I'll talk about some of the limitations that we have at Chagrin for that, but what our plan is moving forward. This is a really small font, but I took this directly from the 2023-2024 report card component on ODU's website. And I wish I could read it from here, but I can't. So at the top, I thought I had my computer. I'm just going to move up here. So I wanted to highlight where our kids were showing readiness on this so that you could see it all in one place. There's a lot of data on here that's not part of the indicator. You can't see this, but the 11 that are part of the report card have the asterisks, which are the honors diploma. Industry recognized credential is the second one, the 1.3%. Dual enrollment credits, this would be through like College Career Plus, which you would have to receive 12 total college credits for. We have our ACT and SAT remediation free score, which you can see 71.8% of our students have met that. Those cut scores are there for you. So in ACT, it's 18 in English, 22 in math, 21 in reading. And in SAT, it's 430 writing, 450 reading, and 520 in math. The next one is AP score of 3 or higher. It also has International Baccalaureate, which is right above that, which we don't offer. The AP score 3 or higher is not for the percentage of students who took AP. That's a total of all of our students. So obviously, if you didn't take any of the AP classes, you wouldn't show up there. And then this is what I wanted to highlight: the military enlistment, the apprenticeship acceptance program, and the pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship completion. Most of those programs in Ohio are tied to a career consortium, which ExcelTech does not have. So we've looked into what those programs might look like for a public school by itself. There's not a lot of examples out there for us to build something like that, but we could do it. So we were looking into, for that 10% of students who are not college bound, 10% of students who aren't college bound, some of those opportunities. The other components that are down here are the CTE Tech. Those are the web-based exams that they take in ExcelTech, so that 10% makes sense. Most of our students do well on those in their career programs. And then the last one is the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal and the plus a 250 hours of work-based learning. That's the one that we are going to focus on for two reasons. One, we think a lot of our kids are already meeting that. And two, it is now a new component of the honors diploma, which would help us meet the honors diploma area on this as well. So this was our score from the 23-24 or 22-23-24. Out of 156 students, 122 students were showing college career readiness by their measures. Just as a comparison, I pulled this from the state website as well. Bay Village is in red. I pulled it for Bay because when we pull ours and for Chagrin Falls, the similar districts that they give us doesn't match up for some reason. Bays happen to match up for some of the schools that we compare ourselves to. So if you're looking at this, again, it's super small so I can read it. Ottawa Hills, which we've talked a lot with, and Madeira are on there, and Ottawa Hills is at 81. We are at 78.2. Bay Village 74.1, Madeira 76, and then Westlake is on there at 64.6. So there's other schools in there too that but just for reference on where we stood last year. I thought this was another important graphic to show where we are for college enrollment and graduation, and also shows us compared to the state. So 89% of our students are college bound, compared to the state at 47%. And then the 6-year completion rate for the 4-year schools, we're at 74.4 in comparison to 30% for the state. I pulled this data because it comes from the National Student Clearinghouse. It's not self-reported like some of the other metrics that they have, which I feel like we have a hard time getting that here. So I can imagine across the state, it's hard for the self-reporting. It also can be, you could get a false positive with students for gainful employment, for example. That number is high for us. I would imagine students are responding that they're gainfully employed, maybe in their full-time student at some point. So I felt like this data was more meaningful for us. But again, 90% of our students are going to college, so we want to focus our efforts on that college bound and also not forgetting about our students who are not entering college and having meaningful programming for them. So really just looking at our readiness program, our college and career readiness program, we meet monthly with our school counselors across the district. But we're hoping to, as we're moving into our vertical articulation meetings for our curriculum and instruction throughout the district, we're going to use this time to be working with our school counselors and other support staff to making sure that we have aligned programming that makes sense. We have a lot of great programming starting in elementary school that's focused on college and career. We just want to make sure that it makes a natural sense for students as they're moving through from elementary to intermediate school to the middle school, that they're in a pathway and understanding themselves. As we all know, the world of work is changing out there, and our students asking a 6th grade student what you want to do is not necessarily fair. We do need to give them access to colleges or careers that they could choose from, but we're really more focused on the skills that would be applicable across many different career fields. And of course, our elective and encore offerings and pathways, again, making sure that those are aligned so that there's a pathway for students to choose to gain that deep level of understanding of different careers and also find out about themselves and what they like and experiential learning. We have a lot of our programming at the high school and middle school with field trips and guest speakers coming in, experts in the field coming into our classes. We want to continue those types of things, and also as we're looking at time and pathways with our district leadership team and across the district, opening up more opportunities for students to have that authentic work experiences so that they're getting that hands-on learning. And really, what's applicable for Chagrin is early access, understanding of students and parents having the understanding of what's out there, what they need to do to continue to develop. So we really want to start in 6th grade. aligning a lot of the work that they've done and exposure that they've done in elementary school to some of these areas, and to begin to focus on a pathway as they're entering secondary. Yep. Yes and no. So no, like the 250 hours of work-based learning would be doing an internship or just working, essentially. And there's documentation that employers fill out to evaluate students in that. So
So SISE at Cleveland Clinic, our Center for Youth Continuing Education, has just started a program for sixth graders to do internships now, and we have a really great relationship with Chicago Falls. So that's one of the things that they're doing with a lot of schools district-wide to start this type of early intervention thing. I think something like that would probably
Yep.
count for just 250 hours.
yes. Yep. Yeah. So we last year, as a consortium, agreed on that this would be a natural part. There's that Ohio Means Jobs Work Readiness Seal is tied to that too. I was not comfortable just automatically applying that without some type of evaluation, so we are evaluating, and those things are getting turned into us from all the consortium schools. Yep. And I'll talk about it in a second. That is one of the three components to meet graduation requirements. So you have your credits, you have your testing, or blanking on the word right now. Competency. Thank you. Competency, showing competency in an area, and then you have to meet 2 of the 8 seals that the state of Ohio has said that you have to meet. One of those has to be an Ohio State seal, so those criteria are set. The others are locally decided. And so a lot of these things will kind of touch on all things. So you could do experiences that would help you meet one of those seals, meet your graduation requirements, and also honors diploma and show readiness. Oh, but the bottom line is we need to start to have them thinking in 6th grade about their career maturity. So what you said you might want to do as an 8-year-old is starting to develop. You're getting your interests based on our coursework and your own experiences and what you're passionate about, and starting to think about a pathway of our courses and offerings and experiences that you can get in secondary to continue to develop those skills while also researching all the different career fields that are out there, and then understanding for our students to start to navigate the college and career planning process. I think it's super important here that we start that in 6th grade. So, we're not gonna, go into the nitty-gritty about applying and transcripts and all of those types of things, but for the students to understand what they can get out of high school to make themselves most marketable through colleges. And then exploring those colleges, having conversations about what type of fit is best for the students, understanding the financial literacy that they're going out into the world to have to understand, and what college costs versus what they're getting from that degree. And again, expanding those internships and volunteer opportunities, and also scholarships that tie to that financial component. We are really going to start to transition from our learner profiles into a college and career portfolio now. So really what you've learned about yourself as a learner and who you are, and starting to develop that into a digital portfolio, so it's one centralized location to keep track of all of the things that they're going to need when they're applying to colleges when they're in high school. So they're not searching around finding all those experiences. This is going to be located online through a program called School Links, which we talked about last month. And really, we want to create targeted events that we can invite students to that are based on their interests. So if you've said you've had a passion in science, and we have a guest speaker coming in, we can target that audience and invite students and anyone, but making sure that those students are getting connected. And then at the high school level, the college rep visit. So if you're telling us that you're interested in NYU and NYU's here on campus next month, we will be able to target that, that audience to say, come and meet with them and get that touch point in person. The added big component is this is connecting with parents and having them get connected to the results of these career assessments and personality inventories. A dashboard that's set up to have all of this included in one place, and that parents are able to do their research and access the same information and research that students have access to help have informed conversations with them about what their students are thinking about. And also a place where they can start to compare college costs and financial aid, scholarships, and that kind of thing. One centralized location, so it starts in 6th grade where you're starting to think about what you're like and what you like and what your career pathway might be, what your interests are, and then connecting it to how we can prepare you to get there. I just mentioned School Links, so this is the platform that we just adopted that will allow us now, this is really replacing a program called SCORE, which was formerly Naviance. Really it was a high school-based program that did some of the same things that School Links can do, but it just helps us expand this. So ultimately, all of that information needs to get sent to colleges. That's really what this was used for more than anything, connecting transcripts and letters of recommendations, that kind of thing. But we want to have a centralized hub that makes sense, that they're already naturally building towards, and then housing it in one place so that when they are in high school, they start to populate their list of colleges that they're interested in. And like I said, start to target that audience of the schools that they're interested in and connecting them. And it really, one of the big things for our staff and our high school counseling staff, those graduation requirements that we were just talking about, it's super complex to keep track of. And we have to keep track for every single student starting in 9th grade. So they have to, our students in 9th grade have to choose a graduation pathway that makes sense for them and what they're hoping to do in high school, and then tracking that over 4 years. This was one of the reasons a few years ago we implemented our high school counselors meeting with our 8th grade, incoming 9th grade families. So we invite the parents and the student to come and sit down to start that relationship with the school counselor so that they have that connection and they're really knowing the students, getting to know them, and having that relationship over 4 years. So it's a more connection to this process. A lot of times with our graduation requirements, it's done pretty much on paper pencil because there hasn't been a program that's out there. Naviance wasn't able to do it. SCORE wasn't able to do it. Any of the programs, as we were looking through with our new data warehouse, that was one of the components we were looking for. No one could do it except for School Links. So this is they have somehow cracked the code in Ohio on how to track graduation requirements that allows our staff then to free up that time for them to be out and about working with students one-on-one and more one-on-one time to build those relationships and guide students. It is. Yep. No, this connects to Common App. So so all of our information that's in Infinite Campus, School Links will connect that to Common App to save a lot of the data entry. But students will, as they're populating their list and sending out Common App information from the counseling office, they can do it now through School Links. Yep, it just connects it. So a lot of the things that we're looking for with School Links, it met our needs. So we really were big on focusing what we want out of a college and career readiness program and finding a tool that works for us and not the other way around. We didn't want to tailor our programming to the program, and I think that's what we were doing in the past with SCORE and Naviance. This program really supports the work that we're doing with college and career readiness under career exploration, our post-secondary planning. That graduation requirement tracking is a huge deal. As a former school counselor, waking up in the middle of the night being like, oh my gosh, did Lori take that PE class or whatever? that's gone, right? So this, yeah, yeah, that's right. So that's gone. There are so many pathways of meeting the competency and the seals that it gets super complex, and they've cracked this code to free up our counselors, and I think it's going to be well received. And then just those industry connections. Another program that this takes the place of is what was formerly Transio or Pathways. When the students are doing their volunteer hours, they were having to track it in a different program, software program. This ties into graduation requirements as well. This program allows us to connect our kids with community industry leaders so that they will have access to this program and they can help promote their volunteer opportunities or their internships. And another way we can target and kind of forward to kids, but they'll have like a job board essentially on there. And then as they're doing their requirements, the business leader or boss can then verify online. So it's saving a step of having to purchase another program. It goes right in so that our counseling staff can track all of this in one place. Yep. Yep, 100%. This was big for us to have that access expanded from 9-12 all the way down to 6th grade. So now for our 6th graders, we're going to be starting in late fall and December, pushing this out to parents and the information about this so that they're in there, they've seen it, they have some inventory or some career inventories or interest surveys done as they're signing up for their classes in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I have 2 children as well. They do the same thing. That's it. Any other questions about this, the report card or our programming?
Is all of this rolling out this school year?
Yep.
The plan?
Yeah, so we hung on to SCORE for one more year to get
the
our seniors
seniors.
through. We didn't
Okay.
want to pull that out from underneath them. They already have that. So we're going to be able to kind of double dip with them, use this software to do the graduation tracking for our seniors so that we know that everything's good. But having our seniors this year finish out their process with the college applications in SCORE. So one more year with SCORE.
Test-based, the ACT non-remediation score.
Uh-huh.
Is that from, or SAT, do we get that from when they take it in 11th grade, or is that something they
Anytime.
report?
Anytime they take
Okay.
it. So, yep.
Because I'm not sure we always collect the best, most recent SAT or ACT score for kids when they submit that to college.
Yeah. So, yeah, anytime that they've taken it is so, I mean, if they're not taking it on our national or our state testing day, they should be, report, if they're taking another location, they have to put our high school on there,
Okay,
so
so
it
you
will
get that.
report it to us, yeah. It'll be obviously continuing to be housed in Infinite Campus. This will allow us to push it into school links to then count towards their graduation requirements, career readiness. The other addition to this is that there's a EMIS reporting function that makes it super easy for us to not miss anything. So that it's getting reported directly from here, and we don't have to pull data and create a file. School Links allows us to do that from there.
Are we seeing fewer kids taking those tests because of test optional colleges, or is it rebounded since?
There's been a little bit of dip, but I think it's starting to back up. Yeah, in most of our kids, more of our students take SAT just because that's our 11th grade test that we offer here. But yeah, most of them are taking both.
Do you see students being able to fill the gap for the apprenticeships as well? I'm reading a blog post from them right now
Yeah.
about the apprenticeships. I'm just thinking like that internship to apprenticeship.
So remember,
Connecting with like 110 and other
yeah,
types of.
they do offer that. Remember, it's a national program, so it's not specific to Ohio's apprenticeship program. So that's the catch, is that we are not necessarily, we don't have a most of our students are college bound and they're not doing a lot of that work. There are 3 examples, I think it's like 3 in the state that have that pre-apprenticeship program. They're all college consortium type schools, career-based schools, I should say, just not offered in Excel Tech. So we're trying to figure out what makes sense for us
Yeah.
to do, and if there's a need for it.
And if like those, I guess it'll be looking at that data, because if our students are clustered in a certain way, how they're identifying those, where they're gravitating towards, that would make sense. But if they're all over the board,
Sure.
it's not like you can.
Yeah, I mean, and so
For a
it's a
million
good
different
point. And I also want to be clear that it doesn't mean that our kids couldn't do internships and
Yeah.
not get credit for this apprenticeship type program. So we still want to expand those opportunities no matter what. They will count towards those work-based learning hours.
That definition.
Yeah, yeah. But I do want to make sure that our staff is tracking the acceptance into the apprenticeship programs. And if we haven't really had anyone do that, but that is one of the ways. And the other important thing to remember is we could get 100% on this tomorrow by jumping through hoops with kids. That's not how we're doing it. We want to make sure that it's built to support the kids' needs, and the score will follow for sure.
So, there's nothing, if a student wants to participate in Excel Tech or do an internship and is also planning to go to college, there's no reason they can't do it.
100%. I mean, most of our students do. And they're actually getting the CTEs that are connected in Excel Tech, so they're getting college credit while they're in high school through the Excel Tech. Most of our students who do Excel Tech do go to a 4-year school.
And also at the same time, most apprentices, I just did the ROI for all of our apprentice programs at Cleveland Clinic. Most of the time, they're saying, I went to this apprentice program because it was going to offer me a growth opportunity, because I wanted to explore what this area was about, and it gave me the opportunity to go to nursing school. It gave me the opportunity to go to optometry school. It gave me the opportunity and have it paid for. It's a fiscally responsible choice as well. So fall in love with something, you need to explore something, get something paid for.
Or
It's
sometimes you
just an
decide
overall good
you
decision.
Don't
don't
like
want
it. Yeah.
Or-
Right, which is also
and that
great,
too,
right?
which is
Before
great
you
point.
pay for a 4-year, down
Yeah,
the path that
it's
you
smart
really
all
want to pursue.
around.
Yeah,
100%.
great, thank you.
The only thing that I just want to add about all of this work is that, remember, our strategic direction is to inspire all to grow and thrive. We had 3 areas. These were recommendations out of that strategic resources category. So while there were pieces of this that do fit in the area of high quality learning and student staff well-being, strategic resourcing was very specific about how we were going to work on and how we were going to strengthen and address these connections. And so Jared and his team have worked very hard to hit that indicator, if you will, of our strategic plan, our directional system. So I just want to keep drawing us back that all of this work was documented, and if you really want to read up on it, you can go to the website, strategic plan, and then check out the strategic resources document to actually see how this all connects together.
Yeah, that's an important part because that was my first year in Chagrin, and I was invited to that inquiry team quite a few times. I was very pleased to attend those because of the work that they were doing in this area. So that definitely informed and drove us to look at this type of program. Thanks for mentioning that.
Thank you.
And so, part 2, if you will be Kathy Mack. She's been working with us for the last year, looking specifically at our gifted programming, our services for students, and I think we're co-doing a little bit of the behavior.
Yeah.
So, I thought I was talking a little bit about, before Kathy got started, about what we were wanting to accomplish, the background, the reasons for looking at our gifted services and our programming, and why we went with working with Kathy, brought her in from ESC to be able to help us and guide us last year and then again this year. And the reason is because when we set our strategic direction. We said we want to inspire all to grow and thrive. And as we did the listen and learns, as we've done roundtables, Kathy will probably share that she's even done roundtables as her role this year. There were just concerns about the depth of services and whether or not we were actually able to provide everything, a spectrum of services, if you will, for our students that were in the category of gifted. And there are multiple places where that falls and hits. So Kathy kind of dove deep into that and said, okay, how do we connect? And what we mean by connect, and she'll explain this in more depth, was there a connection to parent understanding? Was there a connection to teacher understanding? And if there were gaps, how could we fix that? And she really worked hard on that connection piece this year. If we think about create, she'll talk to you about creating a new document and a new process that was collaborative, that we're still working to implement and finalize this year. And then the final piece was a challenge. And what I'll say, and this was my experience coming in and starting to look as an outsider to the gifted program and listening and learning through those roundtables, was that we were really talented in acceleration. But that's just one piece of gifted service, and often doesn't address the whole child. So there is still a lot of digging to do and understanding to do, is how do we get that depth of learning for the students? And Kathy's done a really good job in working through, and then later on in the presentation, I will go in some depth about how we'll get additional services this year, and then hopefully they'll be able to recommend how we need to move forward to serve our students.
Well, good evening, Board of Education. I'm Kevin Mack, as Mrs. Zarsky said, and I'm your gifted coordinator for this last year. I want to thank you for allowing me to come and share some of the progress we made, and also the growth opportunities that I found for next year. It was really important for me to align to your vision. And so, like, when I started, I had to decide what I wanted to do as far as gifted services, and what was really important to me was what was important to you. So I always kept this in the forefront of my mind, and this is Chagrin Falls Gifted Support is committed to equipping parents, teachers, and administrators with the tools and the resources needed to ensure advanced learners thrive and reach their full potential. Enrichment activities. So first thing one category that I looked at was expanding opportunities for advanced learning beyond the standard curriculum. So our current progress. Over 30 staff members participated in depth and complexity training as part of the professional development initiatives. A total of 259 students participated in math noetic competitions, which showcasing advanced problem-solving skills. And then we have gifted education is now integrated into the district design team for multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS. This ensures that representation in district-wide planning and support structures. So that's going to be part of our DLT and what we're working on this year. And then we created and implemented a structured prep to success process to support the academic growth of advanced learners. Now, what's prep to success? It was something that was a line on our criteria sheet. And so it didn't really have a process of what it was, but it was an amazing opportunity for us. And this is for our accelerated math students to support their placement. When children are accelerated in their math placements, what do you do to support them? And so what was the idea was something that was like an opportunity for students who were struggling a little bit, and we needed to create what that criteria was, and how are we going to continue to help them move forward and be successful. So students who are attaining 80% or below on their assessment and their accelerated placement after the second trimester will be given an iReady pathway, kind of like the worksheets we used to get to reinforce some of the things that we used to do in the classroom that children need a little bit more help with. And this is to ensure that they are not just being accelerated, but the children are getting the depth needed to deeply understand content. Last year, we had a couple students who executed this, and at the beginning of this school year, it's going to be really important for me to go into all those building level teams and explain this to teachers, make sure everybody's on the same page, make it part of their syllabi, and make sure as I'm doing these acceleration meetings, which I'll let you know about, that every parent here knows that you have supports in place to make sure your child's successful. Future direction. Examining existing gifted service models for students identified in math, reading, superior cognitive ability, and creative thinking. Additionally, explore potential service options for students identified in science, social studies, and visual and performing arts. Develop local enrichment opportunities during the summer and school year. I did a visitation with our STEM coach, and we saw a wonderful program that kind of ties to career readiness, which might be something we want to explore. And then we're going to design and implement opportunities for students in grades K through 2 to thrive in gifted education with a focus on talent development and enrichment experiences. And that's going to be really important, not to just have an identification drive that group, because there's a lot of children who are advanced, and just because we don't identify in that grade band doesn't mean that we shouldn't give them a challenge. Differentiation instruction, tailoring instruction to meet the unique needs of gifted students. Our current progress, 69 students engaged in math pathways designed to access advanced content. That's our bridging program. So that's a large amount, pretty impressive. Prep to Success, as I explained in the previous slide, is a pathway implemented to provide targeted student support. Project-based learning, developed to enrich advanced learners. You saw that in that first slide when I was talking about my mission statement. I worked with one of our first grade teachers to create a project for that student. So again, even though we don't identify in that grade band, we can offer challenges. Investigated opportunities to expand and enhance gifted services and added identification flags in Infinite Campus. That's really important. So now our teachers can see what the child's identification is, but also what their areas of identification is. That came because I have that same goal platform, which pushes that out into Infinite Campus. Future direction. Emphasize the role of depth and complexity as essential tools for effectively differentiating instruction for advanced learners. Support teachers who serve gifted students in obtaining high quality professional development. Promote the development of learner profiles to better understand and support advanced learners. We're going to continue to enhance the advanced math program, which is a Cadillac version of a math program, I have to say, and ensure clear, consistent communication of its structure and purpose to teachers and parents. Review and refine acceleration criteria to ensure depth, transparency, clarity, and consistency in placement decisions. Collaborate with building leadership to maximize the use of time for enrichment, and review the current acceleration process and identify advancement opportunities by grade level or subject area, ensuring full compliance with Ohio state law. Very important to all of us, and getting on the same goal was a really helpful tool, which I'll explain. Supporting the whole child, resources to address the specific challenges gifted students may face. Current progress, conducting Zoom meetings with parents to review and discuss student acceleration plans. Over 100 Zoom meetings I'm having in the next month. And it's a wonderful opportunity to connect with our parents, explain the rationale behind acceleration. But one message that I really try and get across to them is that their child needs to be a part of this acceleration. They did their bridging, but they also sign off on our written acceleration plan. The children do. So, you know, again, like there's been so many questions. I've conducted 25 of them so far. And the questions have been like, why should I accelerate? I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for a conversation of, well, why do we do this? So we are having authentic conversations. Some parents have asked me, you know, what happens if this doesn't work out? Well, the WAF we use in Same Goal explains what that placement is. And one thing I always make sure I emphasize is that we have to make sure our children understand that this is not a failure if this doesn't work out. Because the WAP's like a 90-day placement that I'm having in New Zooms. It's very important for us to say, hey, you know what? Like, we can put a pause on this, and it's not a failure, and they will go back, and they can join Accelerate again if they would like to do that. But one important thing that I'll talk about is intrinsic motivation. We want to make sure that our children are intrinsically motivated to want to do this. Communicate and reinforce the importance of intrinsic motivation as a key factor in acceleration in decisions. And one of our teachers, Kathy Ulrich, she and I have had conversations because there will be some children who won't complete their bridging by August 1st. And that might be telling us something. The child might be telling us, guess what? I didn't really want to do this in the first place. So it's really important that the children want to do this. And so that bridging and that deadline of August 1st, when we're giving that, we're closing those pathways, that's an opportunity to have another discussion with parents if those children didn't finish and say, hey, that's okay. They'll go to the gifted cluster and we can try again next year. But, again, I'm trying to empower the child as well. Administered assessments outside the regular testing window to free counselor time for student support. That, when I started here, I noticed that our counselors were spending a lot of time testing. So what I did was I said the first month of school, you will test, and then after that, this is a district I can handle, I'll come in and start testing them, and then the last month of school, go back. And it was wonderful because I'd go into the buildings and I'd see, Mrs. Wolfgang having lunch when I was testing. And I was like, that's what you want to see. So those sort of things and that opportunity for me to stand outside and kind of see some systematic things that can make the children's lives better and our our teachers' lives better, that was definitely like an opportunity. Future direction. Develop resilience-focused projects by grade band to help students build perseverance through productive struggle. Important thing that we talk about is one reason to accelerate is to create productive struggle. And so that's an opportunity for some of those children who would otherwise find the classroom not so challenging. So we're going to try and work on more opportunities outside of math of productive struggle. Expand awareness of key focus areas related to the needs of gifted and twice exceptional students. And same goal allows us that opportunity now because now we can see the whole child on that platform. If a child has a 504 and an IEP, I can also see it with their WEC. Before, they were two separate platforms, so marrying those two really is helpful. And the teachers have access to all of that, which, again, when I started, that wasn't necessary. They didn't have access to the WEPs in that fashion. Design a multi-tiered system of supports framework that addresses the diverse academic and social emotional needs of twice exceptional students. And one thing I made sure of with MTSS is I'm on the state board for OAGC, and it's working specifically on MTSS and gifted. So I can be helpful with the DLTs and showing where gifted falls in line with that. Staff, parent, and community engagement, strengthening partnerships to support the growth, current progress, supporting building leadership with parent communication. I do that through the principal newsletters this past year, improved identification messaging, transition COGAT testing into grades 2 and 4 to an online platform for improved teacher access and historical data tracking. We had it in booklet form and the children were bubbling in. Now it's going to be online. And last year I barcoded, so it uploads to this platform and the teachers can have access to it, and the building leaders can have access to it. And then it also had a nice link for parents to see exactly what that meant when they received their child's COGAT results. I facilitated conversation with parents to foster two-way communication. Those coffees were great. I did one at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. They were well attended. get to re-see some of these people I built relationships with in the WAP meetings, the Zoom meetings, so that's wonderful. Future direction, create a shared understanding of the Prep to Success process at the beginning of the year. I talked about how I'm going to do that. Articulate the difference between a COGAT and iReady score, ability versus achievement. That's very important for us to do. I recognize that that hasn't necessarily, some of our parents don't understand that. So that will be an initiative that I will use probably the principal newsletters to like just have an FYI on. Continue to facilitate homeschool communication and create a consistent district-wide annual plan that outlines clear deadlines for the development, review, and completion of written education plans. And that's it. So if you have any questions, it's been a wonderful opportunity for me, and I thank you for entrusting me. And I always put the children first, and hopefully that just reflects that.
Are there bridging opportunities between every grade?
So our bridging will start when you accelerate. So 4+ would be the first time that you would start the bridging. And that bridge, it creates a bridge to that next, because you're skipping over a grade. And then that's the first time when you accelerate, you'll take the next level, OST. So yeah, that's when it starts as 4+.
Do we have bridging for ELA?
No, we do not.
Do we have it for science? I know we used to.
We don't.
We don't anymore.
No, because science is linear. You're not skipping over. So,
Okay. It
Yeah.
used to be able to skip physical science or
Yeah, you're
bridge
right.
in physical science.
Right.
But, okay, that's not.
that
part
was
of the program.
before my time, but I
Right.
did hear stories of it.
Okay.
And
So now
yeah,
it's
you
purely
used to
math.
be able to skip over. And I believe what was discovered is, do we really want to do that? And why are we doing that?
Uh-huh.
And once we started like examining that, it didn't really have that you were missing. I think was it earth science?
So we were looking at the high school sciences, and we met with the high school
Yeah.
science teachers to see where their gaps were. Again, going back to the data to say, is there depth of learning and what, if anything, is missing? And so the high school science teachers really helped identify whether or not that process was in the best interest of our students.
And if a student chooses to bridge over the summer, they're assigned some type of coach, right? To help them. Okay.
Yeah. We have a wonderful support system. It's pretty amazing. We have Kathy Ulrich, who has office hours, and people sign up for that. And then we have our math coach, Mr. Leskowitz, who was communicating every week along with Kathy. And then I'm part of the team where I then, once the children finish their bridging, I will meet with the parents in the Zoom. So, yeah.
So then what are we doing for ELA students who have an identification?
Well, we have cluster groups currently, but we have some exciting things in the works for the future of what the answer to that is.
Right, so you're gonna come back and talk to us.
So I may come back.
Oh, you're gonna.
Yeah.
Great.
Dr. Piva.
There's, we found a really great opportunity that I think will give us depth of learning for all students. And there's something I want to be clear about, especially when having talking, and I know that I tend to do it sometimes. You have to catch that this is about helping advance learning. It doesn't always just mean that you have a gifted identification, right? So we're talking about the professional development or the growing of our staff and understanding and in learning and opportunities. Those teaching practices can be taken back to the classroom to benefit more, if that makes sense. So I think sometimes we get like blinders on to think only these methods can be used for students that are identified, and that's not necessarily the case. There are different check boxes that we have to meet. So when Kathy said that she was part of the MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, and the alphabet soup she gave you was the Ohio Gifted Association, like for the state. And so she's going, and there are check boxes and compliance issues, and that's really what she worked on to make sure that we're meeting what's compliant, but we want to go beyond that. We want to make sure that we're growing all. And so what we're trying to put in place are some systems where we could grow learning for all of these dimensions, given whatever the topic would be in the classroom.
And the importance is that what Dr. P said, but some of the things that I saw during the school year, they aren't the gifted students. They're the children who need challenged. And so the teachers would ask me, like, honestly, I know that this person has the label, but I have 6 other kids that really would benefit more. So those are the things that we're going to be looking for this year, and making sure that depth is really at the forefront, and we're making sure that, based on your mission, that all children have the opportunity to grow, and the advanced students. So we have focused very much on labels, I would tell you, and we're going to try going forward and continue like this last year on not doing that, and that will be important how we message things, making sure that that everybody gets that opportunity to be challenged, and depth provides that.
And the other thing I just want to call out is that growing all. So we're not just talking about growing the students, we're talking about growing teachers' understanding, growing administrators' understanding, growing parents' understanding. And that's really what we feel our responsibility is, so that we get a full understanding of what services are, how they work, as well as all the resources and support that, whether it's our administrators or staff or parents, need to be able to implement. And our hopes for this year would be that we can fill in some of those gaps that we've identified for those growth areas, and also then plan for what that system needs to look like for the future, which I know we had talked previously about posting for GIS, gifted intervention specialist, or gifted instructional specialist. And we did put that out, and what we got back was very few applicants because it was late and there were very few. And so what we learned from that experience was that we need to have a more targeted job description, and again, a stronger process to be able to get what we really needed to serve our students. So we'll be working harder on that up front to make sure that we're ready for whatever that system's going to look like for the next school year.
Correct. And our main focus is this year with our teachers is providing them the tools that they need. So that's where we're going to be working with them and doing that support system.
Are we providing our students anything based on the COGAT scores? Like you mentioned, now they're more accessible to all the teachers who teach that student, but is there any additional service they're getting based on that?
So a lot of times that identification is married to another identification. It's generally not in isolation by itself. So that service will come from math or reading. When a child has that specific identification, and again, this was part of going through the data and looking at it this year, if a child just has that specific identification, we need to work this year more on servicing those students within whatever form. But I think out of the total amount of students that we have identified, which is almost 45% of our population, there were 9 students that only had that identification by itself. So
then they-
otherwise it went with math or it went with reading.
But then those 9 weren't in advance.
Actually, I made sure that did not happen.
Okay.
So that's where you see me going in and doing projects, or you had seen me, a lot of times they're getting that in their AP cut, like they're doing something else as they got older. But yeah, I mean, I made sure that did not happen. I think I had 2 cases where out of the 9 that I could not do that, and that's because they needed to address some other IEP issues that were more at the forefront then. But going forward, I think one shouldn't trump another. We just need to make sure
I
that
think what's
they
fascinating
both
about
go.
that and your question actually though is now we have the team. So through the student advancement team, through the principal of instruction and the principal of data and assessment, specifically Sarah Reed's position, they now are able to look at data over the course of time as well. So were our services effective? How are they performing? If they were accelerated at a young age, how are they performing in these advanced classes now? What does that look like? How can we learn from and serve better? And I think some of that data, some of those conversations that have just started, I've never had been part of before, are really good. And I think that information, along with the online, getting that data available, will only drive our services to be even stronger.
If you go on the COGAT website though, also like I had sent every parent a link, and when they went on there, it had a profile of your child, and it was really great because it talked about specific things that were good for your child based on their profile. So us messaging that and encouraging parents to go to that more, I think a little bit more of an explanation, because that was the first time our parents had seen that, but it was really helpful if you had gone on the COGAT website and saw, you know, it gave like a number, a letter, but it was a specific profile to your child and what they'd be good at, some things you need to work on. So that's something that I'm definitely going to work on this year more, is trying to make sure I front load it and making sure that the parents understand why I sent that second profile part and that they would go there.
I asked because we used to be in a different Ohio school district, and they had something called COG, which was a pull-out program, I think, starting in third grade for
Yeah.
kids who had identified at a certain level
Right.
on the COGAT thing. So I just wanted to understand, it sounds like that's not a direction you guys are planning to go with this.
We're planning, no.
Okay.
Superior COG, I think everybody's heard me say this whole year. No, they're on my mind.
Okay.
They're on my mind because there's a lot of interesting data that goes along with it. Sometimes that you start noticing once you put everything on the same platform, you notice that there's a twice exceptionality a lot of times if they just have that. You notice also that some of those children don't fall in a math or reading bucket. So you start noticing, you look and then you're like, well, does that make a lot of sense to just serve them in those subjects? No, probably not, right? And my previous district I taught in, I would often have that conversation, like, that child's severe COG has a lot of ability, but is that, why would we put them with the reading kids necessarily? They're at the 60 percentile, and you know, when you need checks. So to your point, that's something that we need to like think about and be mindful of and look for depth and complexity, understanding that that population is very unique and that they have unique needs as well as men don't fall in a bucket, you know, that where we offer services. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any?
I was gonna say on a personal note, will you teach me how to do the perseverance through productive struggle?
Code.org. Code.org is.
But no, I just really love that as a concept, because I think that that's what we try to do as well, right? Is teach our kids, teach all of us that it's okay to be uncomfortable with things that aren't necessarily easy, and to lean into that sometimes, and it's okay.
I know, I agree with you, and I think the tendency is like to want to help and save, and so when I have those WAT meetings, the really important thing is like, wow, what an awesome opportunity we have for your child, because they may feel like a failure, and we don't want that happening when you're going away to college.
And that's what I was thinking about. It's such a great connection to the career readiness and
It is.
to college readiness.
It
being
is.
able to say some things are going to be new and it's not going to be easy.
And it's,
that's
guess what?
okay.
It's not a failure. It's okay, and I like,
And
we
trained
want
you
it to
for
be,
this.
we want you to struggle. Isn't that a weird thing to say? But, you know, there's so many studies, like with the Ivy League schools, where they had to take away grades because when all those children got together, they're not used to having to compete, right? And so that's where what you're doing here offers an opportunity for that, which is not a skill that you can teach. You have to go through it. So, yeah, I mean, so that's one thing that's like a byproduct of acceleration, because you could argue, well, you know, that's all we do. But also, there's that opportunity Dr. Kondarski talked about depth. Like, you can accelerate, but you have to offer depth, and from the depth comes that. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, treasurer's report.
So we're just gonna do, we'll come back to 2.02, we're just gonna do 3.01 first, because we got some people in the audience who need to get out of here. Kelly is going to be on a flight in about 7 hours, so I want her to get home. And Jen has been here since about 6:30 this morning, so I would like to get her out of here. So if you wanna go ahead and.
Good evening, everyone. I really appreciate a few moments on your agenda this evening to celebrate a job well done. My name is Tina Ludwig, and I am Auditor of State Keith Faber's Northeast Ohio Regional Liaison, or as the auditor would like to put it, your personal customer service representative. It's truly my honor to be here on behalf of Auditor Faber to present the Auditor of State Award with Distinction to the Chagrin Falls Exempted Village School District. Each year, our office is responsible for conducting more than 4,200 audits of our 6,000 clients statewide. This award places your organization in a select group, as only 4% of our clients actually qualify for the award. The Auditor of State Award is presented to local governments and school districts upon completion of a financial audit that meet the following criteria defined as a clean audit report. The entity must file financial reports with the auditor's office by the statutory due date without extension on a GAAP accounting basis and prepare a comprehensive annual financial report. And in my 6 weeks, I have learned that is a big deal. The audit report does not contain any findings for recovery, material citations, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, uniform guidance findings, or question costs. The entity's management letter contains no comments related to ethics referrals, question costs less than the threshold per uniform guidance, lack of timely report submission, bank reconciliation issues, failure to obtain timely single audit in accordance with uniform guidance, findings for recovery less than $500, and public meetings or public records issues. This award represents the hard work of all of Chagrin Falls' staff and employees who make every effort each day to attain accounting excellence. We'd like to thank the board, administration, and finance department that have done an outstanding job watching over every dollar. What this truly means is that across your organization, you have the people and processes in place that understand fiscal accountability. Specifically, we want to recognize your treasurer, Ashley Brudno, for her leadership, professionalism, and exceptional commitment to fiscal integrity, as well as having a great staff. On behalf of Auditor Faber, I would like to present the Chagrin Falls Exempted Village School District the Auditor of State Award with Distinction. This is a very big congratulations.
Thank you for coming.
Just so that my staff can get out of here. Diane wasn't able to be here tonight, but thank you to Jen and Kelly for being here. Thank you. We took a picture earlier so that we didn't have to do it in the middle of the meeting, so that's all out of the way. But thank you to my staff for all of their hard work. This is really them doing the hard work of saying no sometimes and kind of dealing with things that aren't always the fun parts of our job. So you guys are awesome. This is really all of them.
And this is not the first time we've gotten this.
No, but this is the first time we've been able to arrange it so that it happened at a board meeting. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You guys
Thank you
can
for
go
coming.
home, have fun and go home.
Do we have anyone signed up for public participation?
You want to go back to the cell phone thing?
Yeah, we have to go back. Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, just real quick for the cell phone, all I wanted to do was to say that Mike Doherty and I have been working, me with superintendents and with technology directors about what is actually stated in the budget bill, if you will, about the cell phone.
So will you just explain in
Well,
case
that's
people didn't
what,
see it, that there was a provision?
there was a provision that created, a ban, if you will, of cell phones, and we're working through what that means for the school day and what that means for sharing. And so I just wanted you to know that we are having those conversations. We're looking at our current policy. We're seeing what the impact would be. The actual language doesn't go into effect until October, but we would like to be ahead of everything as much as possible before school starts. And there's still questions about the actual language itself, and so that's what we're working through. So that is all I wanted to share with you about that. Mike, I don't know if there's anything.
So we will not have a change to our cell phone policy
At the July meeting.
Right, so it'll be.
Tonight.
Right,
So,
so,
let us work through,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty confident that we'll be in a better position when people come back and we have a little more time still to continue to work with everything.
great.
So we'll get it back. I wanted everyone to know that we are working and where we are in the process.
Okay, so no one signed up, Mike, for public?
Actually, we also skipped some financial reports.
Do you want to go back to it in 6.1?
Oh, I can do it in 6.01. That's fine.
Yeah, why don't we do it in 6.01? And no one for public participation? Okay, so I move to approve item 5.01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller.
Yes. Yes, sorry.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
Okay, I move to approve item 6.01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer, you want to just jump in here if you want? If there's anything you want
I'm
to say?
looking to see which one this
If we have any questions, we'll stop you, but otherwise, just jump in if you want to tell us anything about any of these that you think people might be interested in hearing about.
So this is just, we pretty much do these standard every year ones.
Yeah,
There's a
let me read, I've got just a better description here for people.
board
Motion to approve
transportation.
resolution 25-026 declaring impracticality to transport for the presented list of students residing in the Chagrin Falls School District and attending private schools. This is something we do every year, I believe. Ashley?
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes. I move to approve item 6.02, the Gurney Handbook update. This is a motion to approve the update to the Gurney Handbook, which we do every year. We update our handbooks. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And so this was just one piece of information we were waiting on. We wanted to get everything approved so we could get it out, but now it's finalized, so it's good. Great.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.03. This is a motion to approve staff resignations as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And this is just the time of year, so I think we're done and getting everything to go.
Ashley?
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
And just for the record, the student advancement team that presented can leave as well.
You know I might have a question.
I don't know if we have questions beyond this.
You know when you're here, I just love to come up with stuff.
Make it interesting for you.
Thank you guys for coming. I move to approve item 6.04, which is a motion to approve the certified teacher contracts contingent upon meeting all requirements as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel? Yes. Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.05, which is a motion to approve the following substitute teachers on an as-needed basis, contingent upon meeting all requirements as presented. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Jennifer, I know we do this list every year of people who we can call on throughout the year. Do we also update this if we need to?
Absolutely.
People, okay. So if
Then
someone
we-
is still interested
Oh,
in
please.
getting on the list, please reach out to our human resources person.
And typically on board agendas, we have one or two that we're always adding.
So we do this now, we do our big list now, but this is in no way the only way you could become a substitute teacher if you want to do it throughout the year as well.
Happy to help anyone.
Ashley?
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel? Yes. Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.06. This is a motion to approve the following certified staff for additional hours as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Bendel? Yes. Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.07, which is a motion to approve the following supplemental service co-curricular contracts for the 2025-2026 school year, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes. And there's a theme here. People are saying these meetings, these summer meetings are often all about hiring. And people who are retiring and other items. I move to approve item 6.08. This is a motion to hire the following classified staff as presented, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Item 6.09, this is a motion to approve the presented individuals as band camp event helpers for summer 2025 band camp, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel? Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Item 6.10, is a motion to approve the presented coaches and volunteers for fall, high school, and middle school athletic programs, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel? Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
I move to approve item 7.11. This is a motion to approve the presented staff and volunteers for 2025-2026 community education programs, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Yeah, just to be clear, it's 6.11.
I'm sorry,
Just for the-
6.11, which is, I can read that again. Motion to approve the presented staff and volunteers for 2025-26 community education programs, contingent upon meeting all requirements.
And I will
Danielle
still
seconds.
second.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes. Item 6.12, this is a motion to approve the following payments for community education summer programming as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
6.13, exempt personnel salary adjustments. This is a motion to approve the following exempt personnel salary increases effective July 1, 2025 as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So just to speak to this one, maybe even the next one in general, is that remember that the exempt employees as well as the administrative employees don't have necessarily a contract, a unified contract where we would just approve like we do for CFDA or for OC. So every year we go through and approve their salary increases or their contracts. Now, I also just want to caution that you may think that people are missing, but they may not be because their new contract starts. So the raise is already in their new contract. So these are basically people that would be either having a continuing contract or who would be in year 2 of a contract. So that's why the names just might not be, you might feel like somebody's missing, but they're not.
So just to clarify, there's not a cost of living increase built into our contract for these employers as there is a negotiated increase in the union contract. So every year we take a look at the cost of living increase for, which is the same thing we did under 5.01, and then we're doing that again here under 6.13. And it's a function of their contract cycle,
Correct.
whether or not you see that this year or we'll see that next year or saw that last year.
And I can talk when we get a little farther down, but I just wanted to make sure that that was clear for how that process works. And,
So, for example, people that are missing, on 5.01 you mentioned is your recommendation for Jennifer. Mine's not included because my new contract starts this year. So there's already a bump in there because this contract will be higher than the last one, so I don't get into what that.
And we don't renew everyone's contract, we don't, for exempt personnel on the same year.
Correct.
It's over the course of what, 3 years, 2 years?
Usually
2 years. So you can go back and look last year, you look at next year, they'll be consistent.
Yeah, same with the admin, which is the next item.
Got it. Okay, so did I get a second?
Yes, you did, it was
Okay.
6.13. So 6.13 exempt salary raises. Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Item 6.14, exempt employee contract amendments. This is a motion to approve an amendment to exempt employee contracts removing an end date as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item 6.15, this is a motion to approve administrative personnel salary increases effective August 1, 2025 as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender.
Item 6.16, a motion to approve an amendment to the administrative contract with Curtis Howell effective August 1, 2025 through July 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Item 6.17, administrative contract extensions. This is a motion to approve an extension to the contracts of the presented administrative personnel effective August 1st, 2026 through July 31st, 2028. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
so for these next year, you wouldn't see the same 2.5, you would see the others. Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Item 6.18, this is a contract with KidsLink. This is a motion to approve the contract with KidsLink for student support services for the 2025-2026 school year as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Bender, Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item 6.19, settlement agreements. This is a motion to approve the settlement agreement for the 2025-2026 school year as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender.
Yes. Item 6.20, contract, Wilson Fish Consulting. This is a motion to approve the contract for gifted consulting services up to 80 days through the 2025-2026 school year as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So this one, I'll probably speak to just a little bit because we have a different presentation. And so we do know where we need support, and Kathy presented how that feature on her chart was. So through Beth, she's very experienced and has been coordination in multiple districts. And so we're bringing her in to specifically do a couple tasks. She'll continue to work on our written education plans. Kathy talked about those being the WEPs because we put those all into a system called SmartGoal. And so we need a sustainability for how that's going to work because Kathy she's also doing the comprehensive district-wide plan to make sure that we have the high-quality professional development for the educators. And so we just want to really make sure that we're not only just compliant, but that they're really getting that differentiated kind of instruction and opportunity and resources. And that will all bring that to the table to support. She'll work with the gifted service models and help us also plan, just like Lauren had asked the questions, plan for what those future services might look like so that we're truly serving. There's some pieces in here where she's K2 is kind of a new area for us to focus on with talent development, and so she has experience and will bring that to the table and help us look at what that could look like and support Kathy through those roles. She's also working on the MTSS piece, and I think that's about it. We think it's up to 80 days, so it might not be that many days, but we just wanted to make sure she's covered. And what we didn't mention, just to consider as you're looking at this whole comprehensive plan, is that 2 of our instructional coaches are now going through their different certifications, so that they can also be able. We're looking for how does this sustain, right? What are the changes? How are they consistent? So Beth is going to come and help you that next.
All right. Not a fact. So, it's amazing addition.
Any other questions? Do I have a second? You,
Mr. Porter.
okay, so Ashley?
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Item 6.21, this is a motion to approve the contract with Aptigee for technology services from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Item 6.22, this is a motion to approve the contract with Vivi LLC for technology services from August 1st through July 31st, 2028, as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike, I guess I should ask you when to speak to any of those. And the Aptigee one is just for our communication tool for parents that aligns with our website, what we're currently using piloting.
That's where we're piloting that in some classrooms, correct? Okay, so it's not gonna be a total shift away this year from, what's it called, what's the one we use now? Okay, Lamar. Okay. Great, great. Okay, Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item 6.23, a motion to approve the contract with T3 for athletic training services from July 1st through 2025 through June 30th, 2026, is presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we're still getting feedback and working. We had success this year. This was the first year that we had the service providing the athletic trainer. So we continue to evaluate and see how that is serving our athletes and our programs.
Yeah, we got consistent feedback from coaches that they wanted to see more training, physical training for students that was sport specific. But also kids are specializing at so much younger ages in one particular sport that we were also sort of helping them not get the repetitive injuries that we're seeing more and more with younger kids. That everyone's seeing more and more with younger kids.
Being able to personalize and design.
So this is a potentially transitional, maybe from, we don't know.
We're still really
We're looking at it.
defining,
Yeah.
but we had success last year, and we think it's the best contract to move forward with this year. We'll continue to evaluate.
Good. Ashley?
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes. Okay, item 6.24, motion to approve the contract with Person Fire and Security to service fire inspection services as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel? Mr. Border?
Yes.
And I think that's it for the recommendations.
Yep. 7.01 is the then and now certificate to Ashland University. This was for summer band camp. I don't remember what slipped through the cracks. I did read an email about it, but something slipped through the cracks on this one, and we didn't get the PO in time. Recommending your approval.
I move to approve 7.01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel? Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Okay, item 7.02 is monthly financial reports. I'll get a motion and second, and then I'll
I move to
discuss.
approve.
I'll second.
It's not look that yellow on my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go through the June reports. This covers the full fiscal year for '25. So I'm going to go into a little more detail than I normally would. I will try not to take up too much time. First report here is just the summary report. It will look different than what you expected it to before all of the budget, the state budget stuff happened. Our balance, our ending cash balance, before all of those provisions were being discussed, bless you, was going to be higher. And then, as you recall, in June, we did make some additional transfers. So our ending balance is 17.1 million in the general fund. With a full year of revenue, this is how it breaks down. General property taxes make up about 75% of our revenue. Public utility is about 3.7. Property tax allocation, which is also a function of our property taxes, that's the homestead and rollback, is 8.1%. That's over here, this larger portion here. Unrestricted grants and aid and restricted grants and aid, that's our state money right there. And then other operating, all these other smaller amounts here. Discuss a little bit.
Often ask me about the lottery.
The lottery. So the lottery is maintained in this unrestricted grants. And I have on the actual report, do you want me to pull the amount? Because I have it on the agenda. If you want me to pull that actual report, I can. Oh, why are only the highlights? Why the actual report is not showing up? Were you able to see that earlier? I assume since that's what you're proving.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's not a lot of money. I don't have it on my laptop, but it is, it's maintained in this portion here, in this unrestricted.
Is that the casino revenue / miscellaneous
Yes.
state rev?
Yes.
It's 103,000 for the year.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say right around 100, but I was thinking it was a little under, so it went up a little bit. Yeah, it's not significant. It helps. We're not gonna turn it down, but, you know, $100,000 on our overall revenue is not. It's absolutely not replacing anything. Definitely. Okay. The comparison to the prior fiscal years, you can see revenue is slightly increasing. Because there's been talk about why this is going up, I broke our revenue down into 3 categories here. So this first one is the property tax revenue. So this is, I pulled the property taxes together, the public utility, and the homestead and rollback, because those are all functions of the property taxes. You can see here, it is going up, but it has not doubled. It has not gone up by 30%. It has, you know, this is not This is not something that is lining our pockets with excessive revenue or additional revenue as compared to prior years. The lighter blue here obviously is the main property tax. Public utility, this blip here from 23 to 24 was there was a delinquency in 23 that then got paid in 24. So most of the public utilities are paid at 100%. That was the first time we'd ever actually had a delinquency there. And then this brighter blue is the homestead rollback. So you can see now significantly increasing. Next category I put together is the state foundation revenue. That's the unrestricted and the restricted. Unrestricted, it is going up slightly every year. Restricted has gone up more. That is just a function of the budget providing us with revenue to do specific things. The wellness money that used to go into a separate fund is now in here. So this year was where it got added. It was in a state grant fund. Then they put it in just in with the general fund. So now we're supposed to report it in the general revenue. So that's what that increase is. And then everything else is just small increases. I will caution you, and I want everybody, if you take nothing away from any of my grants ever, or any of my graphs ever, is always, always, always look at the scale. So when I pull this chart, it looks pretty similar to this one. This one doesn't look significantly higher, but if you look at this over here, we're talking $30 million here. Here we're only talking a little over 2. So although they may appear the same size, if I tried to keep them all on the same scale, you wouldn't even be able to see any differentiation from year to year. So always, always, always look at these scales when you're looking at graphs. The other category I just kind of threw together was all of the other revenue. So taxes obviously is our most important. State revenue is the second most talked about. And then everything else here. I broke investment income out on this grouping because investment income, you can see it's this brighter blue. 21 and 22 was like right around $100,000. And it's $1.5 million here. So that's the main increase there on that. As our cash balance, as we start to now spend our cash balance down, because we are on the end of that levy cycle, our cash balance now gets spent down. Even if rates stay high, we have less money, we're going to get less revenue. So you'll see that start to go down.
Is ESSER in there? Is that, where would
So
ESSER fall on?
ESSER money was a federal grant.
Okay.
So that was never in here. It was in its own fund. It did help us in the general fund because we were able to divert expenditures, but the revenue was never recorded in the general. It was in its own fund. And that went away last year. Okay, any questions with revenue before I move to expenses? Okay, expenditures with a whole year here. Personnel services is wages, employee benefits obviously are our two largest categories of expenditures. This year, this transfers out is a much larger portion of the pie than what we've seen in past years, and that's because of that additional transfer that we made for this coming fiscal year, or the fiscal year that we're now in. We made transfers for this year last year. So remember, we talked about that in June. We didn't know what was going to happen with that provision in the budget, so we wanted to make those transfers to kind of try to manage that, keep that general fund steady, and not have to go back and return taxes and go through all of that, all those hoops. That is not going to occur now, but we're going to cross our fingers, and I'm not going to talk too much about it.
There was one detail override.
I wasn't, because we don't have any levies that affects.
So I just for people, we don't have it.
We do not.
That's not the way we typically put levies like that.
All of our levies that are on our books are all just continuing operating levies. That's what our taxpayers know and understand. That's what we've done in the past. We haven't done any of the other types of levies. those tools are now taken away from districts who did use them. So it's not wonderful for public schools, but it doesn't directly affect us.
Did the
Yeah.
Senate
I'm sorry?
confirm that? Did the Senate confirm it?
I don't believe that it's happened yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's been
Not
affirmed
Yeah.
fully.
I
Yeah.
think it will be, honestly, from everything that I'm hearing, it will be. And,
I
you know,
think that was the only one that we were remotely.
I believe so.
yeah, that was, the other ones that are important to us that, I think they will take up at some point. I just don't think they had the numbers the other day to get it done. I think those are still on the table. They've got till the end of their, tenure, till the end of the general assembly, which is when? End of next year. Right? December 26th, I believe? Yeah, so,
Can't relax
yeah, yeah.
ever.
So, okay, so anyway, back to expenditures. Purchase services, 10.4%, supplies, 2.36%. You know, a lot of times people talk about buying things, stop buying so many things, don't buy stuff. The stuff is this 2.3% material, supplies, materials, and the 1.6% capital outlay, that's equipment. So here's where we could cut stuff. Purchase services, we've talked about this in the past. A lot of this is completely out of our control. It is items that are mandated, things that we have to do. Things like membership in our consortiums, membership in our ESC, special education items, tuitions, things like that, that are just pulled directly from our foundation and get recorded as an expenditure. So all of these percentages, because these are percentages, are a little bit lower than what you've seen in the past couple of years, just because this transfers out, is taking up more space than normal. Okay. Here's a picture of our expenditures year to year. This, if you tried to tie these to the total, these numbers that I have here to the total expenditures, they would not tie exactly because I've pulled out all of the advances, because advances are not really expenditures. So they tend to make these charts a little bit misleading. Advances are just moving money from one fund to another at the end of the year. Recall, typically in June, we will make advances to the federal grant funds because they have negative balances, so we will advance out to cover that and then just advance it back in the subsequent year. Not really an expenditure, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to include those when we're really trying to compare from year to year, so I pull those out. This year, it looks like a very large jump, $4.85 million is not really an additional expenditure. The reason for that is 2.35 was an additional transfer that we made out of the general fund that we would have been making in fiscal years 26 or 27. So we made it in 25. So rather than holding it in the general fund, we're holding it over in that PI fund. These were things that were already planned on. We just switched the timing on it. The $2.5 million in addition is the transfer for that transportation facility that we were holding it in the PI Special Cost Center. Now we're gonna hold it in that 070 fund. Because after 10 years, we can pull it back. We can move that back if we decide to. So that was an additional transfer out of general fund that we would not have made in prior years. So this line right here is where I think the real, if you're really trying to compare operations expenses, that's where this is. Okay. I did the same thing with expenditures as I tried to break it down into meaningful groups. Wages and benefits is the one most people want to hear about, it's the thing they want to talk about. That is where the majority of our expenditures lie. So you can see the increases there. Benefits went up a little bit more this year because we did actually have an increase in our medical. Past few years we had zeros, so we this increase from year to year wasn't as high, so the increase was a little bit larger this year. And then all of the other expenditures. So purchase services, again, that's the one I was just talking about, that are, a lot of these things are just things that we can't control. These aren't just services we choose to purchase.
Did you make that look like a pencil on purpose? It's so cute.
Oh, I did not. That's hilarious. I didn't. I really struggle with shades of
Now you gotta
orange.
keep it like that.
No, that's really funny though. I will do it next time on purpose. That's funny. So purchase services is the largest here. Again, keep an eye when you're looking at these. We're talking, $30 million here, only $7 million here. Largest portion here is purchase services, then supplies, equipment, and then other, just kind of the things that don't fall into any of those categories. And then I pulled the transfers and advances out and pulled those into a graph as well, just so that you can see, the very large increase in transfers. It's making up a large portion of our increase in expenditures.
I think given the inflationary environment too, thank you for your stewardship. And I mean, these are
Funny you should say that.
pretty tight.
Because, so last year, I created this chart, and I started in 19, and so 19 was the flat year. And I updated this for this year. So what this does is the orange is our actual expenditures. The gray is, I went through, and there's my link there to the inflationary calculator. These are where I got the inflation rates, if you'd like to check my math. Calculated what the average inflation rate was. If in 2020 our expenditures had followed exactly what the inflation rates were on these charts, we would have gone from 31.4 to 32.1 to 34.5 to 36.7 to 37.9 to 38.9. Instead, we went from 31.4 down to 30.6. This was the year that we cut our budget, up to 32.3, 33.1, 35.7, and 37.0. So, or almost 37.1. You can see we have beat the inflation rate significantly. The variance between each of these, I have them in a chart. It's actually on the actual report that's in the reports for the month, is a little over $1 million that we have saved over that 5-year period.
That's a good graph. You should put that on your landing page.
I think it's linked there. Well,
Okay.
the last one was. This one I'll update it.
Okay.
So yeah, actually last year was a little bit better. It was 12 million over that 5-year period. So I wanted it to be better, but 11 million we'll take. Okay.
And something to
Yeah.
remember is when we cut the budget,
Mhm.
it flattens growth.
Right.
So you get the benefit of eating inflation, also get the benefit of flattening the curve as well.
Right. Okay, cash balance. Orange is the current year. We knew that we were going to start deficit spending. We knew we were going to be below last year. Initially, we would have expected this to be right around here. We made those additional transfers, so now we're down here to 17.1. Okay, self-insurance fund. So this report, when you saw it, you were probably like, hey, great month. It wasn't that great of a month. This is sort of an anomaly. It's a timing issue. When we close the month, it takes a little bit longer in June just because it's fiscal year. We get anxious, we get excited, and we posted both months worth of revenue or contributions to that fund. So it happens at the end of the month. So typically we will make those expenditures. They don't get posted until the very beginning of the next month. So when you see each month, every month here on these contributions, you see about 420,000. You got the 420, and then we put the next month's 420 in. So this is not really 3.0. That's what was actually in the account. But the balance really is more like 2.6. Next month, when I present this to you for July, contributions will be zero because they've already been accounted for. So you'll see this line will go back down. Financials, it's still though, still great. We're still where we want to be. But I'm not at the point where I'm ready to say we're doing another holiday. This is artificially inflated right here. Okay. Financial summary for all funds. These are all of the cash balances here in bold. You can see that 17.1 there for our general fund, and then all of our other funds. The 035 and the 070 that were new last year, we started with zero. You can see the amounts that are in there. Termination benefits, this is what we'll start to pay severance out of. And then the capital projects fund, the 395 is the first project that we put in there. I think we put 416 in initially, and he's already got $395,000 on purchase order, so we are using this fund appropriately. And then deposits and investments, we have 32.4 million total in all funds, most of it maintained in Star, Ohio, and then in our investment management account. Questions? Then I will take a vote. Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yeah.
Other business, Lauren, do you wanna?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of sad news that Dr. Ruth Ann Plate passed away this week at the age of 85. Dr. Plate was a big presence in the district for most of the 90s. She was hired as the Sands Elementary principal and then was later the assistant superintendent and then finally the superintendent. She oversaw like the addition of the extra classrooms at Gurney, that second floor, and the gym addition there, and also the construction of the middle school. So I know many people have fond memories of her. And then something else I thought was kind of sweet. She met her husband, David, the other Dr. Plate, in grade school. They were married for 65 years, and he actually just died 2 weeks ago. So they're back together in some way, but our thoughts are definitely with their family, and we're just grateful for her legacy here at Chevere.
We do not have, no one's come in, no public participation. Okay. And second session.
I move to enter into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the sole purpose of the consideration of the following matters: to consider one or more as applicable of the checkmarked items with respect to a public employee or official. Checkmarked are employment and compensation of a public employee or official. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes. We will not take action after executive session, and our next meeting is August 20th, 2025, here in West.
And that will be the new staff.
Oh, right, so
That's the presentation.
so we'll have all that great. So we moved to, instead of doing it throughout the year, we moved to December 2nd.
I think it's a third, but
Yeah, it's
yeah, but
nice.
it's a nice way to bring them all together as one group.
So it's nice for them to get to meet each other. It's also nice that families come.